Welcome back. So in our previous episode, this is where we stopped from. We had fetched all this data from the database, and so far this is all coming from index. As you can see, this logic is all in index. So right now what we want is, if I click on this view, right now if I click view, you see it goes to view.php, but it has nothing in it. So in the view.php, we want to view one single record. If I click on this view, I should view only JB web developer, only this record. If I click on view for Andrew, I should view only Andrew. If I click on Century, I should view only this record alone. And the structure is going to look something like this. If you remember in our slides, we said if someone clicks on view, let me see, view here. If you click on view, you should see something like this. It will be also a table, but only having one field like this. So in other words, I'm just going to simply copy the index. So I will copy all this in the index and just take it to our view.php. So here view.php. Okay, so on the view, what we have is the header. So if you remember very well, so here on the header, instead of having add, let me just right now go there. So you click on refresh, click on view. So you see it is still having all this data from the database. We don't want that. What we want is should be showing student detail page. Okay, it could be saying something like student detail page. So I'm just write here the word detail page. There is no need of writing it if you don't want. Then here instead, let's put here view all students, so that it can take us back to the home page. And this one takes back to the index. So just click here and takes back to the index. Okay, now instead of having all the students, first of all, we don't want actions from here. If you check in our slide, we don't have, in the table, we don't have actions. We only have the ID, student name, and the student course. So we only have three columns. So that's why I'm removing this column for the actions. So even here on this, let me remove these actions. Just come here and remove this one. Okay, so right now we have the three columns, but right now it is fetching all the data. Okay, it is fetching all the data. We will only want to fetch data for only single person. Okay, want to fetch the data for only single person. Let me refresh right now. This is how it is looking like. So the only thing we want is, if we click, let me first go back to the view all here on the home page. So what we want is, if I click on JB web developer view here, I should only view JB web developer. If I click on view this Andrew, I should view only Andrew. Okay, so how do we do that? So how do we know that we clicked on JB, or how do we know that we clicked on Andrew? So the first thing is, we want to identify this field that we clicked on. Okay, now one thing that you can know is that we have the IDs for each of these fields we have here. These records, each has a unique ID. Okay, so we can use their ID to identify them. So how? So when we click on this view, we can send from here, because from this home page we have access to the ID. So what we can do is getting the ID from this page, and then we send it along while we are going to the detail page. For instance, when I click on detail page, we can send here, we can send something like question mark, ID is equal to 2, like that. in this we can do this. And if you remember, we did this and was the get those days when we were learning the get and post. We said on a link you can send, if you remember very well, you can go back to the get and post. I explained it very well that you can send something on a link, or you can attach more details to a link. And in this case, we want on this link here, we want to attach the ID of this person. Let me repeat that. I want to attach an ID, these two. I want to attach it to this link that takes me to the detail page, so that when I reach on the detail page, I know which ID or which person am I dealing with. So that when on the detail page, when we are fetching data, we don't fetch for all the people. We simply fetch for only this person using this ID. Now let's see it in action. The first thing, we are going to go back to the index here. So we have already access to the ID. So this is the ID. Let me just copy it. So we want to send this ID along to the view.php. So where we have the link here on the view, we have a link taking us to view.php, but we want to attach more stuff. For instance, we can attach using a question mark. So we say question mark, and then you say I want to attach an ID, and this ID is equal to, that is equal to echo row ID. So this one is going to send along onto view.php, is going to send there this ID. We'll be having the access to this ID. So let's go back here, refresh. Now I want you to watch here in the URL on top here. So if we hover, first of all, when you hover here, I want to see that when you hover here, you see the link at the bottom left corner is saying ID equal to 2. So if I click here, now look here, on top here, we have ID equal to 2. That is great. If I go to Andrew, I click on view, you see ID is equal to 3. So I'm actually now having some way the ID in the URL of this person. Okay, now the only thing is actually getting this ID, and we all know we get the data from the URL using the get. Okay, so we know you can get it using the get. So going on the view.php, on top here, I can first get that ID. Let me show you. So you can just say $ID, I put it in that variable, is equal $get. Okay, and then we know it is called ID. Okay, so this is how we get it using the get method. Now let's echo it. Echo, and I'm just going to echo as a p tag so that it can look a p tag, if I can write one. So let me just put this ID here. You can put the ID there like that. Let me close here. So let's go back. Now if I refresh, yeah, I have the 3 somewhere. It might not be looking. It is here on top here. So you can see here I have a 3, and this 3 is this one. Okay, let's show you. So if I refresh, this is the home page. Let's go to this last person, Sarah. Go to view, and you can see 8. So I'm having access to now the ID of the person I'm viewing. So instead of fetching all the details for all people, I want to fetch the details that belongs to the ID number 8. You can hear that we are fetching records that belong to the ID number 8. So whoever the detail that belong to this number 8, we can get them here. So let's just go and see here down. So instead of getting select star from students, just like that, we can add one clause, and that clause is called where. So we can just say where ID is equal to $ID. As simple as that. So this ID is the column in the database. So you're saying get everything in the student's database that belong to an ID equivalent to this ID. Okay? So we want to fetch data that belong to this person only. Okay? So when we do that, at that point, we don't even need to check the number of rows we have. Okay? You could, of course, check it to see if there is returning anything. Okay? But there is no match in it. The only thing we need to define is only the row. So here things become actually more simple. I'm just going to remove this while row. The only thing I'm just going to have is this row here. And a minute, let me put here the closing. This. So how are we doing this? So the first thing, let me just take you through. The first thing we are having, we are writing a query that selects everything from a student database, the students table, where ID is equal to the ID that we got on top there. And then we run the query. So here we are running the query. And then we get back the row, not rows, because it will be only one item or one record that belongs to this record. Okay, so it will be only one row. That's why we are defining it as a row. And this row is the same, MySQL fetch a sock of result here. So after having this row now, we can start now populating the table again. Now this error we are seeing here, it is because of this. We no longer have this now. We don't have these if statements. We can remove them like that. So now we are okay. So save that. Now let's go back and view again. So I'm just going to go to this back here, refresh. So let's click on 8, view. Okay, so look at that. We have the ID 8, we have Sarah and web development. Okay, let's view another one. Click on view. We have 3, Andrew updated, mechanical engineering. So guys, we have made it, and this is the simplest of all. By the way, you can see you select all. Okay, the only thing is you have to get the ID on top here. Let me scroll up. So we get the ID that we send along in index. So you can see that in index here, we attached this ID intentionally. We attached the ID so that it can go into the view.php. When we reach in the view.php, we get this ID. This is the ID we use to fetch the specific item. So I get this ID, and I don't need this one anymore. I get this ID here. Okay. After getting this ID, I'm just going to use it to fetch the data now from the database here. I say select everything from the students table where the ID column is equal to this ID we have here. After getting this result here, I run the query. I get back that row that is having the results, or that is having that record, and then I put it onto the UI. There is no need to loop through because we only have one record. If you had many records, that's when you can use a while loop. But here we would not need any while loop because it is only a single record. Okay? So thank you so much for watching this episode. I'm just going to see you in the next episode. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can make more content. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.